Hey, we're joined on the phone today by Steve Whiteman. He's best known as the frontman for the band Kicks, but he's back with a new solo album. It's called Youre Welcome. Hey, Steve, how you doing today?
Hello. I'm sorry. I had you going through my earbuds. Now they don't work, so I'm having a hard day.
That's all right. I'm just glad we were able to hook up today. Thanks for being on with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, first, Steve, if you can tell us about the new solo album you've got out here, Youre Welcome. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the new album?
Yeah, it really was never my intention to do a solo album. I've just been writing a bunch of songs, waiting for Kicks to get ready to do another record, and we've been putting all these re-releases out, so we've been putting it off and putting it off. So when COVID hit, I was lucky enough to be involved with Jimmy Chalfant, our drummer in Kicks, and Brad Divens, who was the guitar player on our Cool Kids album. I got to reconnect with Brad, and Brad has built a studio in his house. So Jimmy and Brad were doing like cover songs and just putting them out on Facebook just for something to do. And then Jimmy said to Brad one day, he said, Steve's sitting on a pile of songs. Why don't we get him in here and read a couple of them? Brad just wanted the experience to get acquainted with the studio better. So I took my pile of songs over, and we sat and listened to all 12 tracks that are on the album. And Brad looked at me and said, let's do them all. And I looked back at him and I said, we're doing a solo album, aren't we? He goes, I think so. So it really just kind of fell into my lap. It really wasn't my intention, but it really was therapeutic. It gave us something to do during COVID, something constructive. And it was a lot of fun. And it was fun to reconnect with Brad and have Bob Perry involved and Jimmy playing drums and Dean Kramer, my old friend from Funny Money. So it gave us all something to do. And when it was all said and done, we're pretty damn proud of it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great you were able to make the most of things during the COVID break here. And, you've been making music a long time, and I didn't realize that this was your first solo album. Obviously, you had Kicks and Funny Money, but, a long time coming here for your solo album.
Yeah, I call this my first solo album, but, actually, I wrote probably the first 3 Funny Money CDs, so that was my material. But I didn't consider those solo albums because I didn't put it under my name. It was under a band name, and I wanted to keep it a band. I didn't want it to be the Steve Whiteman Project. So in reality, it's really not my first solo album, but it's the first solo album under my name.
So do you feel like some of the songs on the new album, would they maybe not have fit in on a Kicks record, or have you kind of been sitting on these for a while? Or?
Yeah, I didn't think all of them would be suitable for Kicks, but when we would put a record together, like on the Rock Your Face Off album, we just all threw a pile of songs into a hat and we picked out the best ones. And I was just prepared to throw my songs into the pile and see what happened. Kicks' main influences were always AC/DC, Aerosmith, Zeppelin, and the Stones, and we all share that, and we love that genre of music and that type of high-energy rock and roll. And my influences go beyond that. I grew up, obviously the Beatles were my first band. I love the Monkees songs. I love Three Dog Night. I love Grand Funk. I love Alice Cooper. My influences were a lot different. So I still pick from those influences when I write. So when I write, I don't write for a certain project or a certain genre. I just write whatever comes to me. And those bands with all those melodies and harmonies, that had always been a big influence on me.
Awesome. Again, the new album, Youre Welcome, is out. And, it's interesting over the past year and a half or so. Obviously, people have gone through a lot of hardships, but at the same time, as far as bands go, I think a lot of them kind of had to go outside their comfort zones maybe to try new things. And, in your case, obviously it worked out well. You got this new solo album out, so it's great, trying to maybe try some things you probably wouldn't have if we weren't all stuck inside for the last year and a half.
Absolutely. We've never made a record like this. I did all the vocals from my house. Jimmy did 10 drum tracks from his house. Bob and Brad pretty much were the ones that got together most to record in his studio. I played a couple of drum tracks in Brad's studio and a couple of bass tracks, but we did a lot of it separated. But it was Bob that came in with just specific knowledge of saying, well, this song needs this guitar and this amp sound. And he really brought it up to another level, whereas I probably just would have used the plugins. And thank God he didn't do that, because he made each song sound unique.
Well, Steve, it's been about 40 years or so since the first Kicks album. Does it seem that long to you, looking back on things?
Yeah. It's been a long career, but everybody, people look at us as the band that should have, could have, but didn't, and we just look at it as, hey, we've made a career and a lifetime career out of playing music. So in our minds, we did everything we could to get to the top, and we just got stuck in the middle somewhere. But it is what it is, and we're still out doing it. We still have a great fan base, and we consider ourselves fortunate to be able to go out and do it at a high level.
Yeah, I suppose in your case, it's interesting to think timing-wise, had things happened a few years earlier, they may have been different, but, still 40-some years later, we're still talking, we're still making music. So, I mean, it definitely, you're a success for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. We always look at the positive. I've never been one to look back. I always look forward.
Well, Steve, there was a lot of craziness going on, of course, throughout that time period. But, you've really managed to hang on to your voice. You still sound solid. I think that's incredible considering the kind of, music you played and the kind of voice that you have, that you're still able to hit those notes that you did back in the day.
Well, thank you. I mean, to be honest, my voice isn't what it was when I was in my 20s and 30s. I've found ways around singing like I used to. You have to make adjustments as you age, and I've been able to make those adjustments. And plus, I taught vocals for 25 years, so I kind of know what I'm doing, and I understand the discipline that it takes to keep your voice in shape and to keep your body in shape, and be prepared. So I've always had that mindset, and as long as I continue to perform and make records, I will always do that.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned the Rock Your Face Off album. I know that was well received, and it seems like a lot of hard rock bands, I guess, that kind of were huge back in the 80s, of course, saw music trends change in the 90s, but there's really been a resurgence, it seems like, for a lot of those bands in the last 10 years or so. I mean, everybody's back out on the road, and, everything's really kind of back like it used to be, it seems.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, it started in like 2008. It's like when we were finally talked out of coming out of our little comfort zone. We have been doing some local shows in our area, like Baltimore, D.C., Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, those kind of things. And a national agent talked us into allowing him to book us, and I thought he was out of his mind because I didn't think anybody gave a shit about us anymore outside of our local area. And he booked us on Rocklahoma, big festival in Oklahoma. Sure. And it was in front of like 25,000 people, and they were going crazy. And I'm like looking at the guys in the band going, what the hell's going on? And that obviously that became our agent, and he's been booking us ever since.
Well, you mentioned putting out Youre Welcome as we're kind of waiting on Kicks. What's the status for that band? Could we see a new album sometime, or maybe some shows, here in the Midwest down the road?
Well, right now we've got a whole batch of makeup shows to make up because of COVID, obviously. So there's no immediate plans about a new Kicks album. And, in this stage, you have to look at the business end of it. I mean, making a Kicks album is like making a Steve Whiteman album. I was fortunate enough to get the studio for free, and the only thing I had to really pull out of pocket was startup costs to get the word out. So it'd be a different story with Kicks, and the record sales are and absolutely no airplay. We really got to think about the business end of it before we make that investment.
And you mentioned you've been teaching music for quite a few years now. It's amazing. One thing I liked about Kicks, there was always, you had the saxophone in there and a lot of other things you didn't see with a lot of bands around that time. And I don't know if people don't look past kind of the crazy hairstyles and the outfits of that time, they don't realize how talented you are as far as how many different instruments you play.
Yeah, I played all the instruments on the demos to these songs, and then I got to play a lot of rhythm guitar and some drums and some bass, and I haven't played the saxophone in a few years, but I definitely got a lot of harmonics on this album, mainly because my lead guitar playing is not all that great. So just to fill up the space, I just threw harmonica every place that I could, and I thought, well, then the guys will come in and throw guitar leads over top of this, but everybody liked the harmonica stuff, and so we left it alone.
And I read that your daughter is actually teaching music as well. Could we see the two of you maybe recording together, or maybe sharing the stage down the road?
We've shared a stage before. When she first got the bug, I think she come out and opened a couple of kick shows to open for us. And her and I have done little duet things, just playing cover songs and entertaining some people. I don't think it's her calling. I mean, she likes it, but she doesn't love it. And if you don't love it, you can't do it.
Sure. Well, Steve, again, Youre Welcome is out, and it's great. Things are going so well. Is there anything else maybe we should watch out for you? Anything else in the works?
Well, we could tell people how to get hold of it.
Sure.
Just mainly, the easiest way is just to go to kicks.com and hit the merch tab, and that'll take you to Right Rock Sportswear, which handles all the Kicks merchandise, and you could be able to order physical copy, or I'm assuming you can just go to iTunes or Amazon and download it if that's what you'd rather do. So it's out. It's actually out tomorrow. July 2nd is the actual release date. So, but you can pre-order today and order anytime after that.
Yeah, it's amazing how things have changed in the music business. Back when you guys were first starting out, you had to kind of pepper the area with flyers and, beg people to see the shows.
Yep.
Hope maybe somebody from a label saw you. And, now you can just record it by yourself. You don't need a label, and it's out there maybe even the same day.
Yeah, people are asking me, what's the label? You don't need a label anymore. There's no need for a middleman to rape you. We've been raped enough. So I felt like I'm not going to deal with that ever again.
Awesome, man. Again, congratulations on the new album, and hopefully we can see you around here in the Midwest sometime soon.
I hope so too, Dustin. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate the help.
And again, that was Steve Whiteman, the frontman for the band Kicks, and his new solo album, Youre Welcome, is out now.